Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Murdoch DeFi YouTube channel. And in today's video, we have a pretty special guest, SK Crypto from the Elephant Money team. And he wanted to come on, do an AMA, and talk a little bit about the strides that they've made like over the last couple weeks and months, right? They got a lot of exciting stuff coming online. And he wanted to go ahead and talk about that. Now, when they reached out, my experience with Elephant Money was maybe about 2 years, maybe a year and a half ago or so. I just heard that they had a big exploit happen. And typically, that's typically, like the Red Cross for a lot of these projects. If you have an exploit happen, then 99% of the time, that means death for that project and they cease to exist after that. However, like I said, that was like a year and a half ago, and they've managed to stick it out through that. And like I said, they have some exciting stuff going on. So bring him up to the stage. SK Crypto, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, Mr. Murdoch DeFi. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well, and it's good to finally connect with you because I know that we've kind of been messaging for quite some time now, back and forth. But I'm glad that we're able to finally sit down and get this content done, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I appreciate the platform. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll just briefly introduce myself to those who haven't heard or seen other AMAs from me yet. But my name's SK Crypto K. I have been in DeFi since January of 2021. And like many other people, I have experienced dozens of different protocols across DeFi and different tokens. And 90% of what's out there really just doesn't pan out when it comes to it, right? Many of these projects are low liquidity startups from inexperienced teams, and there's just one protocol that I've diversified into, and that's still standing, over 2.5 years later, and it's Elephant Money. And I'm happy to share it here. It's been my best performing asset, and also my favorite one that I'm passionate about, that I'd love to go around and teach. So, next to Bank Teller, who's the founder, I'm one of the other best that can explain this, and I'm just a passionate community member. I'm just one voice out of so many. There's others that are writing Medium articles and podcasting about this on a daily basis, and I'm just one of that movement.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm excited to share this.
And it's cool to actually have a conversation with rather than like with the owner of the protocol, but genuinely somebody that's just excited about the project. They've been around in it since like the early beginnings of that said project. So I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of a different perspective, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And hopefully after this, if you come away at least somewhat impressed, maybe one day you can actually talk with the founder, and then you'll get both sides. You'll have the investor or participant perspective from me, and then you'll also have the perspective from the founder and his pedigree and his over 25 years of experience doing this kind of stuff. So
Right.
yeah.
So like I mentioned in my intro, and like we had talked about previous, like I think the last thing that I really heard about Elephant Money, and I really haven't been up to date with what you guys have been doing as of recent, but the last thing that I heard of, right, was a big exploit. And like I said, that's typically the nail in the coffin for a lot of projects, right? The majority of them. Um, so
Yes.
like, can you walk me through real quick, like
Oh yeah.
what happened there and how you guys have kind of like rebounded and built back?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to walk through the whole shebang, my friend. So,
Cool.
I will highlight though that one of the reasons why this protocol did survive that, because like you said, man, when a $261 million flash loan attack happens on any protocol, brother, that will make 100%, or let's say 99% of everything out there go belly up.
Yeah.
You would never hear from that team again, or they would try to launch a version 2, and then like, come on, those never work.
Yep.
But here right now, I mean, for liquidity wise, we have 2 LP pools, and it's almost $74 million in locked liquidity.
Wow.
It's crazy. So I will highlight the attack that we had, but essentially nothing administratively was broken at Elephant Money. So the token contract wasn't breached. The trunk contract wasn't breached. It was a vulnerability in a mint redeem that was taken advantage of.
Hmm.
And I'll go through all of those details. But if anyone's curious what that looked like on the chart, it was way back here. Okay.
Hmm.
And this is on the BUSD LP right here. But you can see this token's actually been out since May of 2021. And then in March of 2022, that's when things went really parabolic.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
before the
remember that,
attack.
like that. That's why I think that that's why I started looking into it. I think that that was around the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that was around the time like Forex was doing some stuff on the drip side, and I know that there is some kind of relationship between bank teller and Forex there. I'm not 100% sure on what that looks like, but I remember just like hearing about Elephant Money, and then I seen a lot of YouTubers talking about it. It kind of blew up, and then all of a sudden this flash loan that happened, and the
Yeah.
exploit. So
Yeah, yeah. So, what's really interesting about the exploit, and one of my favorite parts to actually talk about is now, since then, we've had so many community members. You've probably heard of Dune.com, right? The analytics
yep.
for the blockchain. And we've had a specific guy named Daedalus, or he goes by Cohen on Telegram, but he's put together just everything you can imagine on the Elephant Money protocol, and you really can put your finger on the pulse of the history of what's happened here. And this chart specifically, this paints a really interesting narrative for that exploit, because not only did we survive it, right, but
Hmm.
the recipe for how we went parabolic that first time is detailed right here, and I'm going to go through it here in just a second. But that was the most exciting thing, and I think for the founder BT, that was his aha moment. Like that light bulb went off when he was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, so when the LPs get to a certain size and this whale gets to another size, and oh my gosh, that's the recipe for explosive token growth." And now that recipe's happening again. So we're going to go through all of this, but man, it's really cool. But before I explain this and have it make sense, I think I need to go through just some basics on the elephant token
Yeah.
itself. Like it's, okay. Um, so bare bones, this is the token distribution for the elephant token, right? So this is a finite supply of a token. There are only 1 quadrillion of these tokens that can ever exist. There's no way to mint more. So of that 1 quadrillion, half of it is locked in a smart contract called the graveyard. And shout out to Crypto Stu. He put together this pie chart here.
Hmm.
But of the 1,000 trillion tokens, some people like to hear it that way, 500 is always going to be locked in this graveyard. But this is what's interesting. The elephant token essentially is a reflect token. There is an inherent 10% fee in and out of the token, right?
Hmm.
And half of that fee actually goes into the BNB lock liquidity, and then the other half is reflected across all the holders of this token, including the graveyard. So what's interesting about this graveyard is that it's always holds 50%, but then over time through reflections, it'll actually build up to 51%,
Hmm.
and then it'll rebalance back down to 50%. And that's an interesting mechanic, because stuff like Safe Moon and Moonrat, they didn't have this mechanic. But the difference between 50 and 51% is 10 trillion tokens, and half of them are basically turned into BNB and then paired with the remaining 5 trillion tokens, and then they get locked into the BNB LP. So it's a liquidity strengthening cycle
Interesting.
that
Yeah.
occurs. Yeah, and hardens the price floor, but or the price floor. And then I'm gonna play this graphic, but this is since May 1st of last year. So I want you to see how it actually breaks down over time when I hit play. All right. So this is always locked at 50% to 51%. But more interestingly, you've got the participants, you've got this thing called Bertha, which I'm going to explain. This is the elephant treasury. And then you've got the two LPs. And before I play this graphic, I'm going to ask you a question, Murdoch. So, if I were to ask you to go purchase really any crypto token, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, SHIB, you name it, inherently, if you go and invest in any of those tokens today, you really don't know who the whales are, right? You don't know what that price is going to do. It's completely speculative.
Right.
And it's mainly because you don't know who the whales are. You're at their whim and mercy. If they were to sell a sizable chunk of token on the price, it can shake out the retail investors. You could be left holding the bag. But before I play this graphic, I want you to understand this elephant treasury, right? Right here, this is the elephant treasury. This is Bertha. She holds 171 trillion tokens out of that 1,000 trillions, 1,000 trillion tokens that I mentioned.
Hmm.
And I want you to think of this Bertha as the whale who is on your side, the whale that is friendly, that you want to have holding the token to protect the price and selflessly not ever need to dump the price. So look at Bertha right here, and I'm going to play this graphic. And with that in mind, the friendly whale who doesn't dump on you, look at what happens here. I'm going to hit play. Look at this over time, month after month after month, right? The LPs start to shrink and Bertha really starts to grow. So now you have the situation where you have all this protocol owned liquidity between the Elephant Treasury Bertha and the graveyard, and the LPs are shrinking. So you follow me so far? Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my only question would be, okay, well, who has access to Bertha, and what do you guys do with that money?
Right. No, that's a perfect question. So right now we're still technically recovering from that exploit, right? A
Mm,
year and a half ago. And so while we're still in build mode, the founder BT still has the keys
okay.
to everything. Now there are most aspects of the protocol that are completely locked down, like the liquidity, the 74 million we talked about. That's
Hmm.
locked liquidity. He can't touch it even if he wanted to. But when it comes to Bertha, he can control contracts that are whitelisted that interact in and out of Bertha, basically. And
Okay.
that's actually important to note because that's how he protected this elephant treasury after the exploit, which is the next topic, and it'll go into all of this as well. But yeah, BT can interact with this via contracts on an APR basis. But oh yeah, and a little bit about BT, just so you know, he is doxed. He's been coding since he was 10 years old. He's also a MIT computer scientist that has been working for over 25 years in the business and economic sector. He was even CTO at Fidelity. He's run teams. He's been with State Street and FinTech. Just a huge pedigree for this guy.
Mm.
And he's been in Bitcoin since the early inception. I think he bought a bunch of miners for Bitcoin, but realized he should have just bought the token instead and held it. But
Right.
his loss. But he's been coding specifically for DeFi for the last 6 years across multiple projects on Ethereum and Tron. Most notably, you've probably heard of Bankroll Flow. I think that was his biggest project that was the first of its kind that spawned the drip revolution. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
Drip was a 99% fork of Flow, but it fixed what Flow had wrong. And but anyway, fast forward, what Elephant Money represents is actually just the culmination of all of his greatest successes and failures, experimentation, and you name it. And he's finally cracked the code here. So that's just a little bit about BT.
Okay.
Um,
Now, like when it comes to this graveyard, is that a burn wallet, or does he have access to that as well?
no, it's completely locked. It's an immutable smart contract that he cannot access, and it's just coded to rebalance whenever it hits 51%. So yeah,
Got it.
it's yeah. But so I want to look at this chart in a different way. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this one more time, but particular focus is on Bertha's growth in size and the LP's shrinking in size. Okay. Now, this is very critical to understand this.
Mm.
Now, the red and the blue on this chart. So this is pre and post exploit. All right. And this, I hope, is going to be a light bulb moment for you, brother, because this is just insane. But essentially, what you have in blue are the LPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you and I are purchasing the token, and as the Elephant Treasury Bertha is also purchasing the token, we're extracting Elephant out of the LPs. So we're actually dropping the blue. Okay. The blue is shrinking as we buy the LPs.
Yep.
And then in red on this chart, this is Bertha. This is the treasury. And as she's buying tokens, she's going up in size. Now, this dark red, or actually it's a black line, but it's dark red right here. But this is the price action on the Elephant token. And here's the interesting part, man. Look at where when the red and the blue crossed. Okay. When the red and the blue crossed, what date was this? On March 6th of 2022. Look at where the price was here, and then look at what it did shortly after. All right. Now, this is the interesting part. This is the recipe I'm telling you about. When Bertha held more trillions of tokens than the LPs, right? And those numbers are right here too. Like in the LPs currently today, we have 99 trillion, and Bertha holds 171 trillion. So, but anyway, when Bertha holds more tokens than the LPs, it starts to put a squeeze on that available supply, right? Like we already talked about the scarcity of the token. And so now you don't have enough in the marketplace to support the demand. So the price starts to go parabolic. And that whale who isn't supposed to dump on you, right, is holding all those tokens. And then there was a mint redeemed flash loan of the $261 million that came in. It lopsided the pools when it injected all that money, cycled it hundreds of times in one block, and then extracted those tokens from Bertha, the whale who's not supposed to dump on you. She relinquished all her tokens. That's why the red disappeared right here. And that's why the blue, the token she was holding, jumped back up into the wild. Okay. And so BT, the founder, put his nose to the grindstone. He put everything transparently out there on Medium. And he was communicating with the community to tell them, look, okay, I understand what happened here. Looks like the money got tornado cashed in these 11 wallets. Nothing administratively was breached on the thing. We brought in Peck Shield, a third auditor. We're just going to go through everything and just button this up and make sure this can never happen again. So now, here we are, fast forward a year and a half later, and Murdoch, what did the red and the blue just do?
Yeah, it looks like that same thing's happening again.
Yeah. That's the most interesting part. And a lot of protocols can't share a narrative like this because when they go parabolic, it's usually just because of user adoption, right? And then those tokens never really last long. Like look at Pepe and all these other meme coins. Like they shoot up and then they dump down because the earliest holders dump on them. But see, when you have a programmed whale who's not supposed to dump on you holding those tokens, then you get a narrative like this. Then you get charts like this where the token's starting to really rocket because of a recipe for someone who's cracked the code in DeFi. And that's what's most exciting right here. So
what is the move now? Just to buy Elephant and hold it and just take advantage of the price appreciation, or what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah. There's a number of different things you can do with it that I'll get into here in a second. I thought there was one more thing I wanted to show here. Cool. Maybe I'm. Oh yeah, right here. So this is just a highlight and a fun fact for even for someone that's new to the system like yourself. But when it comes to the Elephant Money ecosystem, the price year over year, I know the market's kind of dumping today as we're talking, but year over year, it's up 211%. And currently is outperforming 97% of the top 100 cryptos, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. Think about this, man. This is insane. And also in the year of 2022, right? This number actually said 100%. At the end of 2022, Elephant had outperformed 100% of the top 100 crypto assets. And that's despite the exploit
Mm.
Why? It's because of charts like this, man. The price doesn't dump. Okay. So Crypto Stew put this together as well. Another great community member. But look at how the elephant token has been tracking alongside the world. And I'm talking Bitcoin, Apple, stock market, gold, everything, right?
Mm.
And then here we're really starting to break away. And it's really just been this year of 2023. And it's because of those metrics that I just talked about right here, because the LPs are finally low enough. The Bertha treasury is finally large enough. We're really starting to break away. And
Yeah.
that's what's really exciting. So, to answer your question, there are three main things to talk about here. And now that you have a fundamental understanding of the token, you'll understand why the rest of the ecosystem is actually sustainable. So, this is what the general advice is for anyone who's new. It would be to go in on the token. The
Mm.
token is rapidly appreciating, like 1 to 2% daily, right? This token dips but does not dump. Why? Because you have Birth of the Whale on your side. So if you believe in the math and what's happened in the past can happen again, which, mathematically it kind of looks like it is, right?
Yeah.
Barring any other exploit, which we'll talk about the security and measures put in place since then. But this should just rocket up and never come back down. Now, when a lot of people, I had someone ask me, they had $50,000 and they were debating between putting it into futures, which is an ROI DApp that's finally solvent, right? No more PTSD from these
Mm.
other clones of bankroll flow, right?
Right. Right.
But he was going to put it into futures or the token, and he finally settled on just going in on the token. Why? Because if he puts 50,000 into the token and he holds off for a 10 or a 20x, if he's lucky, he'll hold off for the 20x, but that'll be $1 million that
Yeah.
his 50,000 became. He then will shave off 10 to 20% of that and then enter futures and start generating a monthly passive income from that or the NFTs. So I'll end it right there. But the token should be what someone should focus on. Make sure you're connected to an upline partner, because that 10% fee I told you about.
Yeah.
You can actually get it for 8.5% fee if you are connected with someone. So if you dive into this protocol today, Murdoch, make sure you put your link out there, and people that find you, discover you, and they sign up under you, they get the benefit of getting it for 8.5% fee. And then you will get a modest, here's the other great part compared to other protocols, a modest 0.5% of their elephant purchase. Okay. So if they
Mm.
put in 1,000, you get $5. But here's the rub. That $5 you just got is an elephant token. And $5 after the 10x, well, that's $50.
Right.
After the 50, it just keeps going up. So yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so we have these three different ways. So you could just buy the elephant token. Let's talk a little bit about the futures. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So I'll try to be pretty quick, and I'm certain that you are familiar with ROI dApps
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of the past. Okay. Yeah, I think we all are, brother. So I'm gonna show you my bag here. And this works much like what you would think, but here's the difference, okay? What are the two things that kill all ROI dApps? Like, do you have any guesses? What kills the ROI dApps as we know them today?
I think it depends on who you ask. But I would say that the most common things people would say is that for one, it's a Ponzi, and
Yep.
it's you're just taking other people's money to pay, or like new members coming in, just paying out the guys that got in before you, and then also people say that referrals ruin a lot of ROI dApps as well.
Yes. So the referrals, that's actually a good point. I have not mentioned that before, but when I told you you get that modest 0.5% in elephant token reward, compare
Mhm.
that to the other stuff you hear of, like, all this 10 level down and you get 10% on this guy, but then
Right, right,
5%
right.
on this guy. It's no, none of that round robin stuff. So so my answer for what kills those protocols is twofold. Number one, you have largely everybody just hyper compounding their face off. right? They go in and they compound daily for a cheap 50-cent gas fee, right? So everyone's ballooning their accounts and they're not really adding new capital. No one's really DCAing. They just kind of throw in a big lump sum at the beginning
Yep.
and then they just, compound their face off, right? So
Right.
that's problem number one. But then problem number two is that after they get these inflated bags, they just claim sell, claim sell. They dump the token. That's why all of these token prices are down 99.999% year over year because they claim sell with no punitive action. I know they talk about whale taxes, blah, 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 but it doesn't work. It just
Right.
doesn't work. So what futures does, this is currently it's BUSD in and out, right? But the founder is going to be future proofing this away from BUSD eventually. This is just an entry and exit token. He could change this to USDC. Doesn't matter. But this is what happens when you lock up your principal, and you'll see right here, I have 40,000 BUSD locked, but I'm earning 0.5% a day on this. But here's the rub. I cannot hyper compound this for a cheap 50-cent gas fee, Murdoch. I have to put in a fresh deposit of 200 BUSD. And if I do that, it will compound in my reward of 74 BUSD. Okay.
Yep.
Now, so this will go up my 200 I put in plus the 74. So that stops the hyper compounding for one. And no, I mean, I don't know how many people can actually hyper compound this with $200 per day, but
Right.
be my guest. But the interesting thing about this, and it's just like you said, the other Ponzi-nomics of the other protocols, when they accept money, that money sits in a pot and it doesn't appreciate at all. It's just a money pot that people eventually claim out of. That is pure money in, money out.
Right.
But here's the other part. This protocol is built on top of this elephant treasury Bertha, which we just learned about, right? So Bertha is designed to always go up in size of tokens and value of tokens. And since this protocol came out, look at this. Only $11.7 million has come into this futures contract, right?
Okay.
And on the day that futures came out, which was at the end of January, Bertha was only valued at $9 million. Remember these numbers, $9 million. So if Bertha was valued at $9 million, and then you add $12 million essentially on top of that, 9 plus 12 is 21 million, right? So Bertha should really only be valued at 21 million. But look, she's valued at 64 million almost. How? So she has this multiplicative effect on the value coming in. And it's shown by this chart, another good one by Crypto Stew. So this is Bertha, and the yellow represents her token count. Those trillions of tokens she owns, it's going up in value very slowly in size. So this is since June of last year. The token count's gone up 105%. But look at the blue. This is the value. So this is when futures launched. This is when I said Bertha was valued at $9 million. But then as Bertha's growing, as that scarcity on the token's going up and the value of Bertha is skyrocketing because of that supply demand factor, now she's up 777% year over year, right?
Okay.
That's how when 11 or $12 million came into this ecosystem, this dollar value skyrocketed. So let me tie this all together. Before I lose you.
No, you're good.
This is a picture of this very same treasury I just showed you right here, about 2 months ago. Okay, and 2 months ago, a total of 518,000 BUSD came in across multiple users. But Murdoch, I'm going to say for ease of explanation, this was you. You came in secretly, Murdoch. I know you slipped in $518,000 and you locked it in the futures, right? And you damn well expect to ROI on this. Like, you locked it up. You want your ROI. But check this out. When money hits this BUSD treasury, in the background, it purchases Elephant token and then stuffs it into the treasury. So look at how small the treasury was back then. Today she's 170 trillion.
Yeah.
Now she's 144. And look at her dollar value. It was only 24.5 million. So watch this. When you put in $518,000, you gave Bertha essentially 2.5 trillion tokens. That's what your money gave her, right? And in a pure Ponzi, she would have to sell 2.5 trillion tokens to give you back the same dollar. Okay. Right. But because today you gave her 2.5 trillion tokens and she's multiplying the value, she's growing in size, she's growing in value. By the time, Murdoch, she owes you back $518,000, bro, she doesn't sell 2.5 trillion tokens. She sells like 300 billion, 500 billion, something smaller, because she only has to sell less tokens. Wrap your mind around this. Her dollar value is going up so exponentially that when she owes you a dollar figure, she just has to sell less and less tokens over time to give you that dollar figure. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because she locks in that value, that's what's happening. That's entirely what makes this system solvent, and this will outlive any ROI DApp you have ever come across, because it's built on top of this elephant treasury, this linchpin to everything. Not only is this the whale that doesn't dump on you, right? But she does sell a little bit of token to give back to the people. But because of what I just explained, that's how you can get $12 million coming into a $9 million treasury. And instead of being 21 million, now it's upwards of 64 million. She's basically 4x'd that value. And even if everyone stopped compounding, everyone stopped contributing to this, right? Bertha would just pay out. She would pay out the total TVL of $16 million. $16 million to get paid for by this $64 million multiple times over. So it's already solvent compared to anything you've seen.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting.
And no one's done it yet. And there's one last thing. Remember I said hyper compounding kills it?
Yeah.
So too does serial claiming. So how did this fix that? So now, let's say I wanted to claim out my $75 right here. Just know that it deducts from your total balance. So if I claim this out, it will drop this by $75. So what does that mean? It means that you've got to be more strategic on when you claim. Like, what if I built this up to 10,000 BUSD, right? If I claim out 10,000 BUSD, my total value will go down to 30,000. It'll deduct. So you need to be more strategic. There's no such thing as a bank run on here, because as your balance is dropping, you're earning 0.5% a day on a smaller and smaller balance. You're draining the system slower and slower. So that's what's happening here. So I'm gonna run through one example. So I'm in build mode right now. I'm in build mode, and what I ultimately want to aim for is 100,000 before I start really claiming. So imagine for a second, Murdoch, that I build this up to 100,000, and now I'm earning 0.5% a day on 100,000. That's 500 a day. But I'm going to switch to a 3-to-1 schedule. So follow me, man. Let me know if you like this. But so 500 on a 3-to-1, that means 3 weeks out of a month I'm going to compound, and 1 week out of a month I'm going to claim. So 500 a day times my 1 week claim, that's going to be 3,500 BUSD. So my 100, imagine this is 100 right here. My 100,000 is going to deduct 3,500. So now it's going to become 96,500, right? So now I'm doing 3 weeks of compound. So now I'm earning 482 a day, not 500. I'm earning a lesser amount, but I'm doing this over 3 weeks, so 21 days. Now I build up an award amount of 10,000 BUSD that I'm going to compound in by injecting $200. So when I do that, this plus 96.5, now I have a larger balance of 106, larger than where I started. and now my daily balance is 533 a day. I'm back on my claim week, so now the next month I'm pulling out 3,700. The first month I pulled out 35.
Right.
Now the
And you
next
can
month I'm pulling
continue
out
to,
37.
you can kind of continue to grow it too.
Yes, you get it. Yes. Yep. Perfect, man.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, the last part about futures, and then we can go to NFTs. But I want to really explain, like, you're probably wondering, everyone always wonders, how is this not a Ponzi, right? So if everything we've seen out there is money in, money out, now I want to introduce you to a different concept of treasury supply shockonomics, I like to call it. But elephant money in this futures and everything in elephant money, this is more so money in. Bertha takes that money, multiplies the heck out of it, sells less tokens, money out. There's a big difference. Okay. Big difference because of everything we've already talked about here. She's supply shocking the price. And if people are wondering about user adoption, I mean, I don't know who's not going to want to come in on a price that's outperforming Bitcoin in the entire world. Bitcoin's only up like 20% year over year. We're up 200%. This is going to sell itself, right? Especially after we breach the previous all-time high. That's coming. That's mathematically assured. And once we do that, dude, you're going to have a situation where this token is going to look something like this. This chart's going to be way down here. This token's going from point A to point B, and this exploit from the past is going to look like a chart error to a lot of people in the future. But user adoption is coming. The difference is, just like I said, with those other tokens that don't capture, like Bitcoin and Dogecoin, they have no fee on that. There's no value capture happening. Whereas here at Elephant, the value capture is immense with Bertha because she does this multiplicative effect. All right, don't have your eyes glazed over just yet.
Right.
This is. I want to explain how this chart happens right here. How does Bertha going up in a token count make the value skyrocket? How does that happen? Is there math behind it? And the answer is yes. There's another great community member named Bailey from the Elephant Money Herd YouTube channel. Homeboy is a literal math teacher, and he teaches this on his channel in great detail. You'll feel like you're back in college, bro. It just really goes through deep. But so check this out. Never mind all the numbers. Just focus on what I underlined in red. If $100 comes into the protocol, the price per million elephant, which, right now, this is old math, like 2 months ago. This is 20 cents per million, or in other words, back when we were 204 million market cap. Today we're like 370 million market cap. But you just take the current price, multiply it by a million, and you get an easier to look at price per million. Right. But anyway, the price before the $100 came in was this. 0.204503 with a little dot above it. And then the $100 comes in, and look at how this incrementally increased. 204506. The 3 turned to a 6. Teeny tiny price appreciation. But this is what happens when you spread that out across Bertha's 153.6 trillion at the time of this math. She multiplies the value by 5x, basically. Look at this. She essentially turned $100 into $497, and she hodled that value. Remember, it's kind of like, I think someone else put an analogy out there. It's like Elon Musk, right? He owns 13% of Tesla. And if the Tesla price goes up 1%, Elon's bag goes up way more than 1% because he has so many shares, right? This is the same concept. That little bit of price appreciation spread out across that large bag is this value. So then you get an effect of this. So it's a multiplier that Bailey calls it. Right now, remember how we talked about futures does a little $200 compound, So when Bertha is all of these trillions of tokens, she starts spreading out that price appreciation more and more. So when she gets a $200 injection on futures, she actually turns it into $820 that she hodls. And then as she gets bigger, it turns into 1100. Then as she's bigger, 1400, 2000. So it just keeps
Now,
going down the more she gets bigger. Yeah.
So since she continues to get like more and more tokens as time goes on, is that what's just causing the LPs to get smaller and the price to appreciate?
Yes,
Okay.
essentially, because when you zoom out, and when I talk about elephant money like a business, okay, the share price of the business is the token.
Yeah.
And as the business is successful, the token go up. So when you have different contracts like futures, the NFTs, the elephant token with its fee collection inherently when you buy and sell it, you have all of these mechanisms that are pointed at Bertha. They all go into her little pocketbook right here. And then she spends that money on elephant token and purchases it. So on this example, when I said you gave her 2.5 trillion tokens,
Mhm.
what that means on this chart over here is you basically, she pulled out 2.5 trillion tokens from the blue.
Mhm.
2.5 trillion tokens came out of the blue and then went into the red. So it was actually a delta change of 5 trillion if you think about it. The
Yeah.
blue dropped 2.5, the red grew 2.5, and then that's exacerbating this supply shock. So as a business, you have the share price on the elephant token, but it's kind of like McDonald's, man. There's a whole menu of stuff. Maybe you don't like McDonald's hamburgers, which is the elephant token. Maybe you
Yeah.
just like the fish fillet, which is futures. Or maybe you don't like fish and you just want the dessert apple pies and McFlurries, which are the NFTs. So
Okay.
you have all of these business products that are accepting people's money because the product being sold at Elephant Money is yield. Everyone likes yield. And what's how Elephant does yield is better than any other business out there, right?
Okay.
It's sustainable yield thanks to Bertha.
So let's jump in. I know that we're already like 42 minutes in, so let's jump
Yeah.
real quick into the unlimited, the NFT side of things, and then we'll wrap things up, man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, brother. So let me explain. So this will help understand the NFTs here. Oh, actually, no, there's a page I want to bring up. So the exploit and what protections happened, because this is also how the NFTs get paid out.
Hmm.
You have this system now called the governance contracts. And so if we talk about Bertha and she was this whale, oh man, if this will ever load. Um, yeah, let's let that think for a second. But Bertha right here, when that $261 million flash loan occurred, that's because of a mint redeem. You basically had direct user interaction in and out of Bertha. She had an open front door and back door. Okay.
Hmm.
But now we saw how that can be manipulated with a lot of money. So what BT's done now is he's put a ring of contracts. Remember how I said there's whitelisted contracts that interact in and out of Bertha?
Yeah.
So that BUSD treasury is actually one of that ring of protection. All the incoming money actually stops here first, and then there's a set APR in the background that drains this treasury to then put it into Bertha, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
So this ring of contracts controls the inflow of money and also the outflow of money. And part of that outflow is going to be these NFTs. Now, the inflow is wide open. We want all the money coming in through futures, NFT sales, everything's wide open coming in. But then the outflow is at a trickle. Why? Because you have to be able to squeeze this price. And Elephant Token, when it 10x's, remember, the treasury is made of Elephant Token. So at the 10x, this 64 million also 10x's, right? It becomes 640 million, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's incredible. So let me see if my trunk page, okay, it finally loaded. So that BUSD treasury I just told you about, that's one of these strategies right here. Okay. So this elephant buyback strategy specifically, so there's 1.9 thousand BUSD waiting to purchase elephant to stuff into Bertha. And this is a community called button. So this buyback strategy is right here. Anybody in the community can hit this. And When they call this contract, this money will go buy Elephant Token and stuff it into Bertha. And now these contracts only build up 24 hours worth of funds. If nobody hits these contracts, and BT could go get hit by a bus and everything here would operate autonomously. But if no one hits this in 24 hours, these funds will just freeze. They don't move. They don't go anywhere. But you always have someone hitting these buttons. They're always calling these contracts to buy into Bertha. And also there's a Trunk token, which we won't talk about today, but Trunk is only 16 cents today. It's still recovering after the exploit, and it will go back to $1 when Bertha gets up in size. Right now, Bertha's only $64 million. But when Bertha's around 340 or $400 million in that ballpark, when she's valued at that, this Trunk peg strategy right here, this money is going to get bigger and bigger on a daily basis, and it's going to buy Trunk and outweigh the sell pressure. So Trunk will go back to peg. So that's a side note. But anyway, these governance strategies, bro, this is what protects Bertha now, which is why arguably that exploit could be considered one of the best things that happened while we were underground, because the level of optimization and protections now really start to give confidence that this token price is going to moon and actually not come down this time. And, this is like a crystal ball, brother, or like a, Q from the Noisy Elephants community member says, you were just given the winning numbers to a lottery ticket, Murdoch, and I just sent you back in time, bro. So that's where you're at. All right, NFTs, right? Or unless you have any other questions real quick.
Not on that stuff. That's all. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff I probably knew about a little bit already. It's just nice to have like kind of a refresher on it.
Yeah, and have it all pieced together with nice charts and everything. Yeah. So when it comes to the NFTs, just like I explained with these governance strategies, the inflow and outflow of Bertha, there is now a 1% APR coming out of Bertha. Okay, 1% APR. So of her 171 trillion tokens right now, 1% of that is 1.7 trillion tokens in a year will come out and go into the NFT staking pool. Okay, so these NFTs are interesting. So I'll make an analogy to real estate here in a second. But basically, 1% APR coming out of Bertha feeds into this staking APR, and that money is divided by the amount of NFTs staked. So what does that mean? Right now, the mint price is 2 BNB, but it used to be 1 BNB. So how the NFTs work is it's called Elephant Money Unlimited because there's an unlimited amount of NFTs technically that could be minted. But here's the rub. They come out in batches of 10,000. So the round one that we just completed, all the NFTs only cost 1 BNB per NFT for 10,000 of those NFTs. Now we're in round two. The price has doubled. So check this out. Every single round, the price doubles. So right now it's 2 BNB, but the next round's 4 BNB. Then it doubles to 8 BNB, 16 BNB, 32, 64, 128. Eventually you get to some crazy prices. And I bought 30 NFTs for 1 BNB a pop. That was only supposed to be $6,000. But when the floor price doubled, so too did my value. And there's a built-in marketplace that you can sell these on too. So as this keeps doubling, think about it. The next round, this will double again. This will go up to 24,000. And then it's going to double again to 48,000. It's pretty crazy. But that's the last part of it right here. That 1% APR is divided by the staked amount of NFTs. But here's the thing. Remember how Bertha doesn't stop growing? Because everything's aimed at Bertha. She's always accumulating tokens. So her 1% APR is always increasing. But you know what doesn't always increase? The sales of the NFTs. So right now they're 2 BNB. People are going to buy this. But what happens one day when the NFTs are 64 BNB a pop, right? sales are likely going to slow down, especially if BNB price is like $1,000 per BNB coin.
Right.
But that 1% keeps going up, but this staked amount is being divided by eventually peters out. It's going to stagnate because the sales are going to drop off at some point. And when that happens, this APR actually really climbs. It's going to be over 100%, in my opinion, in a couple years.
So
But
as of now, you're getting like, so say I buy right now, I go and I buy an NFT and I go ahead and stake it. What is the is that the 28 APR?
Oh, yeah, it'd be the 28 APR. The amount you earn per one NFT is pretty small right now. I think it's a couple dollars a day. But let me go through my rewards. So check this out. Available I have to claim out into my wallet is this. And here's the cool thing. Your rewards come to you not as a dollar figure. You get rewards as elephant token, right? Which we already shown is an appreciating asset and the industry leader for the last 2 years, outperforming the top 100 cryptos. So you're earning an appreciating asset as a reward. So that's cool. So check this out though. I could claim out my $111 worth of elephant token and it'll show up in my total reward. So that plus that is basically $400, right?
Right.
But what's cool is as elephant token 10x's, so too did my $400. 400 times 10 is $4,000, right? And then as it goes up 20, 50x, 100x, trust me, man, you are so early on this token. Not financial advice, people listening to me right now, but you are looking at a multi-billion-dollar market cap project that will do multiple hundreds of X's, in my opinion, mathematically assured. Mathematically, okay? Go watch EMH's videos. But you're earning these tokens and they will price appreciate, yes, with the elephant token price appreciation.
That's pretty interesting, man. It's definitely something that I'm definitely going to look into.
Yeah, you should look at it. And you know, one other analogy, brother, is like real estate. Imagine 20 years ago, let's say you, Murdoch, you purchased a lot inside of New York decades ago. And obviously over time, you want your lot resale value to go up.
Right.
Well, the NFTs, the resale value goes up over time. But then also on your lot of land, you built some apartment buildings. You're collecting rent, right, Murdoch? And you, in this analogy, you're collecting rent in the form of elephant tokens. So you have these NFTs which are acting like real estate. Actually, it's better than real estate. It's more efficient than real estate. Your resale value is always going up. It's doubling every round. And your rent being collected, rent prices are always going up every single year. Well, so too is the elephant token.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool.
Very, very cool, man. Well, I think that's going to kind of cap out our time for today. But I would definitely love to have you guys back on. Maybe have BT come and like give a little bit of his background and stuff too. I think that would be very cool. But man, thank you so much for coming on and giving us all this information. It's definitely piqued my interest for sure to look into it a little bit further for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And if you have any questions, brother, feel free. Please DM me. You know, there's a lot to soak in with the protocol, but if something just doesn't gel or you forget, just hit me up, bro. But otherwise, yeah, man, it was a pleasure being here, Murdoch. Thank you so much for not only the platform, but everything that you do for DeFi. Look, man, you're like me, bro. You just want to not only win yourself, but you want to provide wins for your community. And people look up to you, man. Like you're one of the big YouTubers out there. They want a win. And this protocol, bro, I think this is going to make DeFi fun again and very interesting. So yeah, thank you for your time, bro. Great questions, great host, and I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, and then guys, I'll leave the links to everything Elephant Money related down below in the description of this video. Other than that, again, thanks, man, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.